Our next person who's going to share for just a little bit is Alyssa.
Yeah, hi. I'm an addict. My name is Alyssa. I'm from Laramie, Wyoming, so I'm part of the Rocky Mountain Zone. And I've had the opportunity to serve in a bunch of different positions um, over the course of the 10 years. Not that my clean time reflects that, but just the 10 years that I've been around Narcotics Anonymous. And I was very lucky to get a sponsor who was super involved in service work, like super involved in service work when I very first got clean. And so H&I, public relations, and then just business meetings broadly have been a huge piece of my recovery for, the entirety of my time with Narcotics Anonymous. So I'm really grateful to be here and to have the experience, strength that I hope that I do in Narcotics Anonymous service. And I just want to say thank you first to my predecessors. When Phil was sharing, I was just thinking about, and I just, for some reason lately, have been reflecting on my relationships with the judicial system and with cops and the lieutenants here in Laramie, and maybe not for some reason, it's been a hot topic issue. And I've been thinking a lot about it and how Narcotics Anonymous has really taught me how to develop a relationship with a common goal in mind, like across communication lines for sure, because obviously my history is tumultuous when it comes to authority, as is much of ours. So I'm really grateful to think about my predecessors and how I've learned how to be in Narcotics Anonymous, to carry the message to that addict who still suffers. And, institutions are a part of my story. Relapse is also a part of my story. I was institutionalized really early. The very, very first time that I got high, I was compulsively using every single day, all day, isolating by myself from the very first time. And then I ended up in an institution, two different institutions. So that there is any wonder that I am an addict is beyond me, that I fought that so hard. And anyway, institutionalization is a huge piece of my story. And so serving institutions and serving addicts in institutions is a huge piece of my recovery. And it's really important to me. And my sponsees and the addicts behind the walls, I need that ground level work in my recovery. I need it. I see God so much. I learn about myself and about my higher power and about what's been given to me on a daily basis through my service to H&I. I'm here today as a public relations chairperson. So I'm the public relations chair for the Wyobraska area, but I do serve our H&I committee as well. And I think that I have found a lot of success in public relations and the importance of not only how we as a subcommittee public relations works with the institutions and facilities who need us before the pandemic and also now during, but also addicts in Narcotics Anonymous and those addicts that want to serve. So I've learned that as a member in NA, I have specific skill sets that I can bring to our service body. And I love to be able to serve as a public relations chair. And so part of that has been, and I was laughing because I forgot, I didn't do the asterisk in my name on the Zoom. I have like 9 different emails, one of which is our Wyobraska PR email, which is how I've communicated with the facilities here. And anyway, I got a lot of information about this to that email and didn't have my laptop. And I was laughing because I think sometimes maybe the struggle of putting things together and installing bodies of service, right? Not only establishing relationships with the facilities here, but also establishing relationships with each other and streamlining, single points of accountability and really making sure that we're organized. We've had a lot of ground level work here, and so we had our first H&I meeting 3 weeks ago at Albany County Jail here in Laramie, Wyoming, via Zoom. And it was amazing. But getting there was a long battle. And so it didn't happen, on my time either. And when the pandemic hit, PR had just sort of started to come into being, and we were formulating new guidelines, and then everything just it flatlined for a little while. And what I'm really grateful for today is that I'm learning how to renegotiate what it means to be of service. And my experience with public relations has taught me the importance of understanding what it means when technology sort of like comes in, right? And how we can use these tools to our benefit, and not leave a black eye on Narcotics Anonymous, and make sure that we carry the message to the addict who still suffers as a reputable option, from healthcare professionals, deputies, lieutenants, judges, whomever, that if you have a problem with drugs, we might work for you. And that it's not just us members saying that, but it's judges and cops and whomever else. And so I feel really fortunate that public relations and H&I are protected, and that we get to carry our experience to each other and out into the world to do that. And so my point in all that is that I learned, I have to use like an anonymous account when we come in, right? So our area has a Zoom, and that's what we use. Reconfiguring the way I present myself back here, like when I'm carrying a meeting into the jail virtually, like what does the background of my home look like, and how am I making, am I having like tea or dinner or whatever? No, because that wouldn't be what I would do if I were going into the facility. So there's been a lot of stuff I've been thinking about that I learned from our first meeting. And we're fortunate, I guess, because Albany County is small. And so we could host, a few different meetings with only 3 inmates at a time. And so I feel, like we're making it work to the best of our abilities. But it was a lot of phone calls to the lieutenants and to the jail to get in there. And it's still pretty loose and like haphazard right now. So we're just trying to figure it all out, and I'm so grateful to lean on the experience of those who've come before me, and the experience that I had in a different area, serving in different capacities. And the other thing that is so beautiful about our autonomy in Narcotics Anonymous is that when we come to serve H&I members or public relations committees or whatever else, when we come here, I mean, some of us are really good at graphic design. Some of us are really great at like email communication. And especially with the pandemic, learning who knows what about Zoom and how to lean in and ask for help. I think that that's been really cool. And so I've learned a lot about what I can and can't do as a member of Narcotics Anonymous, in serving the greater body, and reaching those addicts that still suffer, and those addicts who've yet to find us. And so I don't know. I do have a PowerPoint. So that PowerPoint obviously differs from the way that I would like structure format for just like a 7 p.m. meeting. So this PowerPoint has like, I'm working on getting what can I do in it. And they're, bigger because obviously the inmates that we serve are far away from the little video or whatever where they meet with lawyers and whomever else. So the camera, so I have a PowerPoint. If anybody would be interested in seeing that, I would be more than willing to share it. What we've been doing and what I hope to do, so we essentially just call the jail at 6 on the 4th Tuesday of every month and say, hey, we're ready to host the meeting at 6:30. Are you guys prepared for that tonight? The lieutenant with whom I speak is usually like, that's cool. I email them our Zoom link, and then they set it up and they bring the inmates in per pod and as sort of like can, and as long as people aren't on lockdown or whatever. And that's how it's been going. And as far as meeting lists and literature go, we just sort of like field want or need for basic texts and things like that. And then we just make sure that the meeting list is in the chat. And the lieutenants have said they'd be willing to print it. I'm trying to figure out how to sort of mitigate costs. If the jails, I just feel like that's a lot sometimes to ask. So anyway, it's a new experience for sure, but it's beautiful. And all this has been really great, and I've been like really emotional. And so I'm really, really grateful to be here and to just be reminded of the gift that I'm given every single day, the freedom from active addiction. But you know what that term means, that freedom is just so much more dynamic. And honestly, you know, when we get here, and I know when I talk with addicts in jails, institutions, the juvenile treatment facilities, etc., that like that desperation, all we want is that freedom. But there's no way I could have known, and I still don't really know what all that implies, including sitting in a zonal meeting with people from all over the world and people I've known for a really long time. So I'm ultra grateful to be clean today. Again, I have our area has a public relations email, and I would be happy to share that with whomever might need it. So that if you want any materials we've been working on, if you want to talk about learning days or the ways in which we support our H&I members who are learning how to go into facilities virtually in new ways. You know, I mean, PR is responsible for sort of helping us keep up with our traditions and helping addicts learn what it means to be a member of H&I. So I'm happy to share all of that with any of you. I'm really, really grateful to be here. Gail, thank you so much for asking me to share. I'm just always honored and grateful to be a part of NA. And that is all that I have.